The Minnesota Vikings versus the Oakland Raiders. Hi, everybody. Vin Scully along with Alex Hawkins. Welcome to Oakland. It's kind of overcast. There's a 40% chance of showers, and already one decision has been made. New England defeated Miami. Consequently, Oakland, by winning today, can be the wild card. So there's a lot on the line. Bud Grant, implacable as usual. You can't tell very much about him. And on the other side, a much more explosive John Madden, and summing his ball club up. And all around the ballpark, the flags proclaiming the fact that Oakland, the world champion. Ready to kick off for Minnesota. Cox does not get much of a kick, and Carl Garrett will take it inside his 10 to the 25, and necktie brings him down at the 30-yard line, where Oakland will put it in possession, 1st and 10 from their own 30. Here are the boys who figure to be at the other end of Kenny Stabler passes: Cliff Branch, Fred Biletnikoff, and the great tight end Dave Casper.
You don't want many better than that group.
Kenny Stabler with his two great running backs who also block exceptionally well for each other, Clarence Davis and Mark Van Egan. And up front, Shell, Upshaw, Dalby, Beeler, and Lawrence playing for John Vella. Cliff Branch is wide left. Biletnikoff is wide right. 1st and 10 from the 30. Mark Van Egan on a flag on the play just as he hit the line of scrimmage. Let's take a look at Minnesota now. They will be asked to do what they could not do in January: hold Oakland. It'll be Eller, Sutherland, Page, and Marshall up front. And Page and Marshall took a terrible licking the last time they met. The linebackers, Blair, Seaman, and McNeil. Emphasis on Seaman. He'll have to read Kenny Stabler's mind. At the corners, Nate Wright and Bobby Bryant. Jeff Wright and Paul Krause at the safety. Stabler, a change of pace. Whoa! Here's Jack Branch. He beat Bobby Bryant. Goes to the outside, and Krause cuts him down to the 42-yard line.
You see Kenny Stabler pumping the football, trying to throw those defensive free safeties out of position. Cliff Branch, all the speed in the world. He's only been averaging about 15 yards a catch. That's low for him. But they've been running the ball a little more often. You see him beating Bobby Bryant that time. This guy turns it up, it's all over. Biletnikoff helping out there.
They have been asked now to hold an Oakland ball club that comes here breathing fire. 2nd and 4 from the 10. Remember, an Oakland victory today, and they have won the wild card since New England beat Miami. There goes Davis. Inside the 5 for a 1st down. It'll be 1st and goal, Oakland. So here's something. Matt Blair, when you see the ball, you'll see 59 right around it. So 2nd and goal from the 2. Banks now on a wing on the left side. Van Egan goes through. Touchdown. Fumbled, I believe, after the whistle. However, the play was dead. And Mark Van Egan bangs it over, his 7th touchdown rushing of the year.
So that first series. Let's take a look at it now. Having a sensational year, was the first runner to break 1,000 yards or better in the AFC. Over that left side, and it's predictable. Art Shell and Gene Upshaw, when you got people like that, you got to run behind them.
So now coming in and asked to kick it for the extra point is Errol Mann. Timeout for the moment. You asked an interesting question, Hawk, about why they picked Errol Mann up.
I thought it was interesting because Al Davis has a reason for everything he does. Number one, they have a grass turf here, and he had one in Detroit where he kicked there for so many years. He'd been used to kicking in the Chicago Stadium. They had a big game coming up. We'll talk more about Al Davis. He's very interesting.
Errol Mann, 10-year veteran, sends it through. And so the Oakland Raiders have asserted themselves. 9 minutes and 5 seconds to go in the 1st quarter. And the Oakland Raiders 7, the Minnesota Vikings nothing. Now Minnesota trying to regroup. 1st and 10 from their own 14, and young Tommy Kramer is the quarterback. McClanahan and Foreman, and it's Chuck Foreman. Here are the men who figure to handle the ball. Ahmad Rashad, Sammy White, and Stu Voigt, the tight end for Minnesota. The backfield with the quarterback, Tommy Kramer, Brent McClanahan, and Chuck Foreman. Up front, Riley, Goodrum, Tingelhoff, White, and Jerry. 2nd and 8 from the 16-yard line. 7-0 Oakland in the early going. Sammy White is wide left. And Tucker, a tight end on the wing, outside Voigt to the right. Juggled by McClanahan. The whistle is blown, and it is recovered by Otis Sistrunk of Oakland.
Otis been troubled a lot this year, as many of the Raiders have with injuries. He's about 80% well, but still playing today. Vikings very sluggish, it looks like, today. There's a handoff there, and, well, it's just a poor exchange. He never got control of the thing. Can't tell whose fault it was on that. New quarterback, that'll often happen.
3rd and 5 from the 11-yard line. Stabler gonna left-hand it up. High down in the corner to Branch. All alone. Cliff Branch made it look easy. That's his 5th touchdown pass of the year.
Well, sir, the Vikings have had trouble rushing the passer all season. You cannot give Kenny Stabler, as the Los Angeles Rams found last week, you put a rush on him, he might throw some interceptions. He's thrown 20 this year, but you give him time to sit back like that, he will pick you to pieces, because he is one heck of a thrower, as everybody knows. Cliff Branch, well, you've seen him play too often for me to tell you anything about him.
The closest man to Cliff Branch was Jeff Wright. He was about 5 minutes away by phone. So Errol Mann will now try to make it 14-0 Oakland. And he does. So the Oakland Raiders, capitalizing on a Brent McClanahan fumble, cash in on a touchdown pass to Branch and lead 14-0. Well, Tommy Kramer had to come in here last week behind by 3 touchdowns. He must wonder if Minnesota ever gets in front.
He's waiting for it. He gets behind 24-0 before he cranks it up.
2nd and 10 from the 12. Fumble recovered by Minnesota. And falling on the ball is Goody, as they call him, Charles Goodrum. So Minnesota has fumbled twice and given up the ball once, and they were saved that time by Goodrum.
Well,
Take a look at the boys up front for the Raiders. John Matusak, Dave Rowe, and Otis Sistrunk. And that 3-4 defense, remember. Rice, Johnson, Hall, and Hendricks. Welcome back to the Oakland Coliseum. Vin Scully along with Alex Hawkins. And the Raiders very much at home, leading 14-0. And Minnesota, fresh from having punted out of the end zone, now has the ball 1st and 10 from their own 3 as John Madden, last-minute discussion with Kenny Stabler. Tommy Kramer with McClanahan and Foreman. Fumbles and falls on the ball. It's loose. Picked up by Willie Hall for a touchdown, Oakland. Would you believe that?
Oh, buddy. Get the fork. I'm done. That's
Willie
the
Hall.
3rd bad exchange. And this, well, they've only had 3 possessions, and all 3 of them have ended in bad exchanges there. Willie Hall, a free agent from Southern Cal.
He recovered a fumble in the 1st quarter of the Super Bowl against Minnesota. Kramer, you see, dropped it, fell on it, it squirted up in the air, and Hall just picked it up and walked in. And they're going to push the Vikings into the bay. It is 20-0 Oakland. We have 4 minutes and 22 seconds left in the 1st quarter.
Get out of town. Whoa.
If it were a fight, they'd have stopped it on eye cuts by now. It's up and good. The Oakland Raiders are leading the Minnesota Vikings 21-0. Take another look at that loose ball. He lost it right away.
Yes, sir. Hyde got out from under him because he falls on it right there. Good
watch
position,
it
and
pop
Hyde
up.
squirted up. I have no earthly idea.
Went up like wet soap.
Someone said the ball takes funny bounces, but that's been so many years ago.
Who said that? Francis Scott Key. Chuck Foreman with a 35. Fumbled. Picked up and dragged down by Floyd Rice. And Oakland has recovered it again.
And that's just not right. That's just not right to get off to a start like that. Poor Tommy Kramer, what a sensational week he had last week. Chuck Foreman, who does carry the ball a little loosely, got a good hit that time, and up it comes.
You know, there was a stat before the game that summed up Minnesota. They were -16 in turnovers, and here they've turned the ball over 4 times.
We'd like to take away your Schlitz and have you try our beer.
Shut up. Down, baby. I'll handle this. You want to take away my Schlitz? You want to take away my gusto? You're the first person that ever made me laugh. You want to take away my Schlitz? My gusto? Say hello to your lunch. Take away my gusto.
If you don't have Schlitz, you don't have gusto.
You don't have beer.
3rd and 1. And Rick fumble. Picked up by Nate Wright. to the 20, 15, 10, 5. He goes in for a touchdown.
All right.
Turnabout is fair play.
I'll say, how do you like that when it happens to you?
Nate Wright, 9-year man out of San Diego State, picks up the fumble and runs it in for a touchdown.
Oh, and that can change it around. It was so easy for the Raiders on those first 3 touchdowns. Minnesota, everything happened to them. Now it goes back the other way. Good bounce to field that time. He decided to go ahead and pick it up instead of fall on it. Look at the blocking out in front of him, too. Escorted in.
Bud Grant, you could never tell whether Oakland had just scored or Minnesota.
You just don't know.
We do know, however, that Fred Cox has just kicked it through. And so Minnesota trying to get back in the ball game. But Oakland still leading 21-7. Ray Guy, the talented foot, we'll see what he does. Manfred Moore all alone on the Minnesota 10. And Guy sends it towards the airport. No wonder they thought helium was in that ball.
I've already showed you I can kick it out on the 2. Now I'm going to show you how far I can kick it.
So Oakland 21, Minnesota 7. 1st and 10 on the Minnesota 20 coming up. Now you have Tucker in a slot right inside Grimm. Broken up, a one-handed slap at the last minute to bring it down by Lester Hayes. And we ought to took him. Number 37, Lester Hayes, is the rookie who took the heat last week. Watch him knock it down. He was the boy beaten by Harold Jackson.
Made up for it there. Kramer tried to force that one in there, as you saw. No reason for him to throw the ball in there. But then he is a rookie after all said and done.
53 seconds to go to the half. It is 4th and 4 for Tommy Kramer's club. He has Sammy White right, Bob Grimm left. He's going to throw it, and it is just off the fingertips of Sammy White. Look at the delight on Lester Hayes as he comes off. So Kenny will let the clock run down. So Kramer had 2 shots and couldn't do it. One on the interception and the other as he could not get the ball to Sammy White. So Oakland goes into the clubhouse leading 21-7 at halftime. It'll be interesting to see the adjustments and just what Bud Grant does. He tries to come from behind in the second half.
When do you say Budweiser?
After doing this about 3,000 times a day, after a hard tennis match with my friend Ron. As soon as I knock this ball out of the park.
When do you say Budweiser?
It's everywhere.
When my mother-in-law leaves town.
After a long night in here.
Or when you say Budweiser.
Let me hear you say it, people.
Budweiser.
You have said it all.
Kenny Stabler last year, of course, 66% of his passes, not quite as well this year, but he can give him time in with the receivers he's got, as good a receivers as they are, he can kill you.
Excuse me, ma'am. We'd like to take away their Schlitz and have them try our beer.
You want to take away their Schlitz? You want to take away their gusto? You're cute. Dumb, but cute. You want to take away their Schlitz? Their gusto? You're going to end up a cornerstone in a high-rise. They're going to turn you into an off-ramp on the interstate. Take away their gusto.
If you don't have Schlitz, you don't have gusto. Probably you don't have beer. Schlitz.
Bootleg, but they're there, and a flag on the play, and a fumble finally picked up by big Mike McCoy out of Notre Dame, but a flag and a whistle. McCoy, 6'5", 275, a growing boy.
He just puts it on his hip, a la Eddie LeBaron, goes around to the outside with the full intent of running Ranieri out and block it in front of him. Let's see if we can see where the ball came loose. There it is. Mike McCoy, open field runner. #1 draft choice for the Packers, never quite panned out to be what they thought he was going to be over there. Oakland trying to rejuvenate another one of these boys that the other teams had given up for and picked him up, made a trade for him.
Well, it sounds like a dirge, the numbers for Minnesota. Would you believe 7 fumbles? And they've lost them all. So McCoy, the latest Oakland hero, 1st and 10 from the 32. To Cliff Branch. He beat Jeff Wright. Second touchdown for Cliff Brandt. And Kenny Stabler just arced that ball, a magnificent pass.
That's the way the guy does. When he wants to kill you, he can do it in a hurry. He's got the receivers to do it. He's got an offensive line that afford him the protection to do it. If you don't get a rush on this guy, you are dead. Look at the concentration and the leaping ability. That Cliff Branch is something. Turnovers, as Bud Grant said, will kill you, and they were minus 16 going into today's game, and certainly minus more now.
23 skidoo about now, and it is 28-7 in favor of Oakland. Well, they're smiling in Oakland. The Raiders leading Minnesota 28-7. New England defeated Miami earlier today, and so an Oakland victory will make them the wild card club, so they got a lot to be smiling about. Minnesota, however, just recovering a Neil Colsey fumble. 1st and 10 on the Raider 42. Miller and Johnson, the running back. Kramer. Picked off by Skip Thomas, and he steps out of bounds. The pass was intended for Bob Tucker.
Skip Thomas. Johnny on the spot as Kramer goes to the well once too often. Had that sideline and go. He's tried it twice today, but he got to be able to take care of the free safety before you can do that. He didn't do it that time. He looked that way all the way.
Well, that's the 3rd interception. So a 3rd and 3 for Stabler from the 19. And it's Banner. And he just runs over people. And he's finally brought down by Tom Hannon.
Big blocks there by Henry Lawrence. And let's take a look at it. Lead block in there. Who was that? 46.
Bankston. And Van Egan now 27 carries for 104 yards. Van Egan inside the 5. So Mark Van Egan.
Let's watch Dave Dalby, number
carries.
50. Oh, he just rides Alan Page completely out of the play. Dave Dalby, number 50. Only the 2nd center in the history of the Oakland Raiders. Jim Otto played there so long. Dalby's got a great future himself.
John Madden and the Oakland Raiders are going to win the wild card. And Bud Grant and the Minnesota Vikings must wait another week. Mark Van Egan getting an ovation as he comes jogging off the field. 28 carries for 112 yards and 1 touchdown. 4-year man out of Colgate. 3rd and 1. In motion, Bankston. All alone is Carl Garrett to make it, and then Matt Blair on top of him. And it's a rout, boys. It is 34-7.
All he wants to do is win. He has a way, though, when he decides to throw the football, which is what he does best, of course. He can put the hurts on you. Carl Garrett all by himself out there before Matt Blair. A little bit too late. He's in the end zone already.
Well, in the Super Bowl, to refresh your memory, Oakland beat Minnesota 32-14. They're now leading 34-7. Errol Mann trying to make it 35. And he does just that. So we have 4 minutes and 51 seconds left to go in the ball game, and it is all Oakland in capital letters.
When you're thirsting for a beer or two, but what you're doing isn't through, that's the time to take a natural break.
Anheuser-Busch Natural Light. Brewed naturally with nothing artificial to give you a crisp, refreshing beer that won't fill you up, so it won't slow you down.
Take a natural break. Anheuser-Busch Natural Light. It's time to
Take a natural break.
35-7 Oakland with 3 minutes and 21 seconds left in the ball game. And I keep thinking of that line, we have met the enemy, and they are us.
You got it.
That would be Minnesota today. Mike Ray with Garrett and Robisky in the backfield for Oakland. And it's Terry Robisky out to the 17-yard line. Mike Ray out of USC. He's had 2 years there. He spent 3 years with Toronto in the Canadian Football League. his biggest moment. He beat Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. A very good field goal kicker. Also point after. Ray, R-A-E, 6 feet, 190, 26. Ray is playing and the snake is resting with a job well done. So it's 3rd down and 2 from the 11. There's Big John Matusak.
You know, he once played for 2 teams the same week when he was down in Houston.
Off the hands of Craig. And then Craig tackles Skip Thomas to make sure he couldn't catch it. Thomas saying, well, now isn't that enough?
Take a look at it again. Tommy Kramer got a nice delivery right over the top. The ball should have easily been caught, but was not. Too late to nitpick now, isn't it?
And how 1 minute 35 seconds left to go in a ball game that saw Oakland just keep recovering fumbles and pile up a 21-0 lead. Minnesota came back 21-7, had a pretty good drive going on, but then gave the ball up on a Minnesota interception by Oakland, and really the Vikings have not been heard from since. All right. Heard from that time. Touchdown to Sammy White. Sammy White, 8th touchdown pass of the year.
Sammy has had an outstanding season as he did last year. He's caught a pass, at least 1 pass in every game this year. There you see Tommy Kramer with a play-action fake there, drilling it in, and something good's come out of it. Maybe it built his confidence a little bit for next week.
So it is 35-13 in favor of Oakland. Fred Cox, who is 2nd in NFL history in points, landed with 2002, and he missed it. And the Oakland Raiders continue their supremacy and mastery over the Minnesota Vikings as they take them apart 35-13. A great part of the Oakland victory because of Minnesota's fumbleitis.
You got it.
So this has been Scully for Alex Hawkins, and there's the final, 35-13 Oakland over Minnesota.
A minute 13 to go in Denver. They are beating San Diego right now. The score of that game is 17-9. The Broncos are about to wrap it up. Final score 35-13, Oakland over Minnesota. Los Angeles a winner, 23-7 over Atlanta. Seattle beats Kansas City, 34-21 is the final there. And look who won its first. Tampa Bay 33-14 over New Orleans at Hank Stram. Detroit in the closing seconds blocks a punt. Baltimore should have taken a 2-point safety and saved the victory. 13-10 Detroit. Buffalo over the New York Jets, 14-10, an upset there. Miami and New England, all 3 teams in the AFC East alive, 14-10 Patriots. Cleveland loses to Houston, 19-15 the final. Chicago drives on toward the playoffs. And for Walter Payton, today he gained 144 yards. The New York Giants beaten by Philadelphia in the closing seconds, 17-14. Now let's check the standings and see if we can clear up a couple of major questions. Dallas wins. Home field. Washington has a chance as a wild card. They cannot beat Chicago if they tie the Bears, but they can beat Minnesota if they're tied with the Vikings. And in the Central, the key game is next Saturday night, Minnesota and Detroit. Greek, how do you make that one?
Minnesota will be just slightly less than a touchdown favorite.
The next day, Chicago, New York, how do you make that one?
I'll be about the same, just a touchdown over.
Remember one thing, Baltimore is in control here. If they beat New England next Sunday, the Colts go to the playoffs. Neither of the other teams are in control of their destiny. The only way the Patriots can go is if they win and if Buffalo upsets Miami. Moving along to the AFC Central, Cincinnati is in control here. All they have to do to get to the playoffs is beat Houston and they're in. Pittsburgh cannot go. They cannot be the wild card. That's been settled. Denver wins. The wild card, the best second-place team in the AFC, goes to the Oakland Raiders.